everybody, and welcome in to the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. It's the 29th of October. Everybody getting ready for big Halloween weekend and a big game. I mean, a lot of costumes going to be down at Michigan Stadium on Saturday night. That sounds like a pretty good time, dressing up in your favorite costume and then watching Michigan play football. Not too shabby. What's going on? Now, coming up, we've got a few different things to talk about, but this is a quick tease. The Michigan Athletic Twitter page put out a picture, and the picture is just on the right. And for those that are listening on the podcast, it's just a football sitting at the 50, right in the middle of the field. But if you zoom in on the football, you'll see a cartoon number 7 Wolverine with a Daniel Boone coonskin cap on. Now, your guess is going to be as good as mine on what that is. And we'll take some of your guesses. I'll tell you what I think that means. A little tease on a Wednesday. This just doing it just to tease us. Something behind it. Something going on at the big house. Nothing going on. We'll see what that's all about. We'll certainly speculate on what's going on. But it's a big week for Michigan football. They've got the game against Purdue. We've got the Michigan basketball opener that's coming your way on Monday, and what is expected to be a really exciting season for Dusty May and company. We're going to talk about that coming up, and we'll get into all the ins and outs. A lot of injury news. That's not fun to talk about, but it is top of mind with the game coming up on Saturday night. I'll have the latest, who's in, who's out, how long, who the backups are, all of that sort of stuff for Michigan and Purdue. But we're going to start with connecting with the head coach that's going to be on the opposite sideline of Dusty May coming up on Saturday, and that's Oakland U head coach Greg Kampe, who we are going to connect with. And without further ado, let's see if we can get that going and talk with the coach here on the Maize and Blue Review. And here he is joining us on this Wednesday. OU head basketball coach Greg Kampe. Coach, how are you? You ready for the opener on this coming Monday?
I am, Dennis. We're really kind of excited just to get the new year going. I got a lot of new faces, like everybody in college basketball. And so you want to get playing games that count and just see what you have. So I'm really, really excited about Monday. Opening on national TV is always a good thing, too, when you're Oakland. So I'm really excited.
Is it also a good thing for Oakland to play Michigan, Purdue, and Houston in your non-conference? That's a heck of a slate.
Well, when you start with number 7, number 1, and number 2, I don't think anybody thinks that's a good thing, but I think a month and a half from now, once you're through it, I think we'll look back at it as that it really helped us become a good basketball team. So, you got to look ahead in the long game on this, and, it's going to be a tough start. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever opened with 7-1-2. We were trying to do research on it. We haven't been able to find anybody that's ever done that. So, I look at it this way. If we win all 3 of them, we might actually be, get where we're like others teams ranked or something, because nobody'd believe it.
I'll tell you what, if you win all 3, man, I'll be ready to be pretty excited. I'll vote for you in the top 25. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your team? You feel pretty good about? You said you had a lot of newcomers, but what do you see from them so far?
Well, I really like us, but we had a bad injury last week. One of our most expensive players. We can talk like that nowadays. One of our most expensive players, one of our best players got hurt. He's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So I won't have him for those 3 games. won't have him for Central Florida. I'll probably get him back by the time we play Michigan State. And he's the guy that's built for those games. He's 235 pounds, 6'7", and he's a rebounding machine. And, to lose that against Houston and Michigan, and that is going to hurt us. But other than that, I think we're really talented. I mean, I really think we have a chance to be good. 1 through 10, I'm not sure we've ever been this deep in all the years I've been here. But the thing I like, and I said this recently on a press day, is I'm a big card player, right? I play a lot of gin, and if you open your hand in gin and you got 2 spreads dealt to you, you're usually win that hand. And it's very similar to when you got guys that can shoot from multiple positions. You've got a chance to win, and that's what we have. We have a lot of guys that can shoot from multiple positions, so I'm excited.
Well, you guys, that's kind of your trademark, being able to shoot from downtown. I was listening to Dusty May on Monday, and he said, he called you a zone team, and he also said he expects to see a lot more zone just overall in college this year as a trickle-down effect in the NBA. He said that they played more zone. Do you agree with all that?
No, he's a lot smarter than I am. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. It's so hard to teach our zone that I'm buried in a hole for the last 4 months. I'm 2 places. I'm either in the gym or I'm on a golf course. So I don't really know what's going on in the NBA. I couldn't tell you. That is surprising to me if they're playing more zone in the NBA. But we've been a zone team for years. It's a goofy matchup zone, and it's hard to teach and it's hard to learn. And when you have 10 new players, you're going to make a lot of mistakes early. And we'll be a lot better in it by the time January gets here. But that's why we want to play all these good teams, because we want to learn from our mistakes.
I don't know if you know this, do other teams call it, hey, we're playing the OU zone or the Kampe zone? Because, I remember going back in the day, and I know you've been coaching at OU since '84. They used to always call it the Jim Boeheim matchup zone. Is it a similar one to the Boeheim matchup zone?
No, it's completely different than his, although he and I have discussed it a lot of times. I mean, we while he was coaching, we were on the phone a lot, just looking at what he would do against this, or what, he would ask me, how we did this or something like that. Just even though they're completely different zones, it's still the concept and the principles of it. So I kind of miss him being around, because he was a good shoulder to lean on when things weren't going well. But I don't know if people, I don't know if anybody calls it the Greg. I don't think many people even remember my name, so it may be the Oakland zone.
Greg Kampe, who is the longest tenured head coach in college basketball, 42nd year at OU. I wanted to ask you, of course, about the tournament run that you had in 24. I know you're getting ready for this upcoming season and everything else, but I'll remember that one forever. You have such entertaining games. You beat Kentucky. You almost beat NC State. You took them to overtime. How much, it's been a little bit. How much has that helped you, your visibility? I know you're talking about yourself modestly, people not remembering your name, but they certainly remember your run you had. How has it affected the program since then?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, we opened a new practice facility this summer that probably we would have never gotten if we hadn't won that game. And it's a game changer for us. It really is. That having, finally we're into the modern day with having a really, really nice practice facility. It's great for our kids. Name recognition is really good, especially if you can shoot the ball, because what Golke did in that game kind of became legendary, making 10 threes. And so every kid that we're recruiting, they saw that game and they want to be the next Jack Golke and be able to get that many threes in a game, because he shot 15 or 16. So it's been really, really good for us, and I hope that this year we reap the benefits of that, because I think we were able to put a heck of a roster together, and that had a lot to do with it, that in the practice facility. So we're pretty excited.
Yeah, shooting 15 threes, that's going to be pretty exciting to say to any kid. I bet that, lights their face up. What do you know about Michigan? I mentioned Dusty May already. What do you know about his team? He top 10 ranking in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, they're a lot different than they were last year. Those 2 7-footers they had last year played off each other so well, played together so well, and one of them, handled it out there. And, The one they got this year can get out there and handle it too, and he could make threes. But he's a different player than Wolf. He's. I think in the Cincinnati game, he had 4 straight possessions. He got an and one. That's remarkable in this day and age. And then the big kid who didn't play against Cincinnati and played against St. John's. He's a difference maker. Obviously, that they didn't play real well against Cincinnati in the exhibition, but that's why you play exhibitions. And not having that kid was a big difference maker, because at 7'3", he can rim protect, he can score the ball close. But the thing that's pretty amazing about the kid is he can go out with his back to the basket at 15 or 18 feet, handle the ball, dribble handoffs, backdoor cuts, passes. He's really skilled for 7'3". So, it's a unique team in the size, and yet their guards are, they're like, snow plows, man. You get that ball out in transition, and they are getting to the rim with strength. They're throwing it up there, and then it's almost like their offense starts when they shoot it, because there's like 14 hands above the rim trying to get it back. And so I definitely think they're as good as their ranking. They're athletic. Could be a really long night for us on the glass, and could be a long night, at the game. And we're going to have to shoot the heck out of it to be able to stay in the game.
Well, one thing we know for sure, it's going to be a late night as it starts at 8:30. How does that affect your preparation and your travel and everything? It's I would say it's not unusual anymore. There's a lot of games that are played 8:30, 9 o'clock for Eastern.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, we don't usually get that. Those games are made for TV, and in the Horizon League, our TV games are Friday night at 7 or 7:30 on ESPN. So this is a little bit later than we're used to. But as far as traveling that goes, so we're going to leave at 5 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock or something. It's a 45-minute drive for us. So we're not even going to shoot around it in Ann Arbor. We're just going to practice at Oakland, have our shoot around that day at Oakland. We're not even we're not going to go there and come back. And I'm not going to, hotel rooms and all that kind of crap. We're just going to get on the bus, show up, go out there, play as hard as we can, and hope something good happens.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good game plan. You better check that traffic from, Rochester to Ann Arbor.
Dennis, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but 20 years ago or so, probably, fortunately the game wasn't on TV, but there was a snowstorm, and we left for a 7 o'clock game. We left Oakland at 3 o'clock, and we did not get to Ann Arbor until 5 minutes to 7. Oh, they were not happy. It was crazy, but we started the game like 30 minutes late because of it. But you're right, man, that traffic is really bad. And so we learned our lesson from 4 or 5 years ago, but we're still not going to get there too early.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, best of luck.
I didn't mean 4 years ago. I meant like 24 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Do you remember how you did in the game?
I remember that we weren't very good early because we were in a panic and that. But I think we took horse and carriage to the game. I think it was that long ago. We didn't take a bus, so I don't know.
A long time ago, I drive by occasionally Oakland Hills, and I see the clubhouse, and it burned down a couple years ago. But I can't really rubberneck too much over there because I got to keep my eye. How's it coming along over there? I mean, is this just going to be a gem? Do you like what you see? Yeah,
it's very impressive. We're supposed to move in April 1st, is what I'm being told. So I'm excited about that. I mean, it's been 4 summers, where we didn't have a clubhouse where your trunk slamming, but it's going to be a jewel. I know it costs a lot of money, I'll tell you that, but it's huge, just huge, and it's beautiful. And people that are going to go to events out there will really, really like it. They kept the exterior very similar to the past, but the inside's completely different. It's modern with huge ballroom, and it's really, really impressive. So we're pretty proud of it, and we'll be excited to get in it.
Sounds like the East Wing over at the White House. Perfect for you, Coach. Right after another OU tournament run, you'll be ready to go check it out there in early April. So good luck with that and have fun. It's always nice catching up, and hope to see you on Monday night.
Well, thanks, Dennis. Anytime, man. I appreciate you having Oakland on.
No problem. I'll be watching. See ya.
Okay.
And there he is. Thanks very much to Greg Kampe. Got a little echo there. And I'm getting a double screen. How about that? I want that. All right. Here we go. The background. All right. Hey, welcome in. And we continue on. Now, that was some basketball talk. And we had the coach there. The opener is coming up on Monday. You got this Michigan team. Maybe you watched them in the exhibition season. Maybe you paid for Big Ten Plus. Maybe you didn't. And now you're just chilling and waiting to see what happens on Monday night. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's sometimes when it comes down to teams, like, who cares about the preseason? Who cares about the exhibition? You just show up on Monday and say, hey, let's see what they look like. I watched both of those games, and this is a legit team. There's a lot to like about them, and I think it's going to be a very entertaining season. Right down. This is a deep team, talented team, and they got everything that you're looking for. So that is the good news when it comes down to Michigan basketball. Now that gets us to Michigan football. We do have the teaser for today, and this was on the Michigan Athletics site. So not on the football site, although there is a football with a logo on it with a Daniel Boone hat. And let's see what that MW on the sleeve. Now that I take that to mean Michigan Wolverines, but could that mean something else? Could it be a concert that is being teased for the big house? You know, Michigan just had I forget the guy's name. My daughter went to the concert. It seemed like a huge. It wasn't Zach Bryan. I know somebody else Bryan. I don't know, but it was. It seemed like a successful event. So maybe this is a tease for a country singer with the initials MW. I don't know. Was it Luke Bryan? Somebody said Luke Bryan. I said Zach Bryan. Luke Bryan. I think I know who Zach. Wait. I don't know. I either know who Luke Bryan or Zach Bryan is. The one that played there, I didn't really know any of his stuff, but I did know the other one. So that's it. And so if it means Michigan Wolverine with a Daniel Boone hat on, I don't know. I saw that there was some speculation that maybe Michigan would be featuring a mascot. Maybe they'll be putting a mascot out there. They've never had a mascot. They had a live Wolverine back in the day. And then I don't know what ended up happening there. You know, live Wolverine in a cage doesn't seem like the way to go, but a real a mascot, not a real mascot, but a mascot that you see a lot of teams will have down there on the sideline. And the first thing that I think of when it comes to a mascot is that, you know, Michigan's never had one. Forget it. But then you're like, what if they were taking all of the money that they would get from merchandise sales, having the old Wolverine, you know, show up at your party or something? I think that happens. I think I've seen that with other mascots. I don't know how much money. I mean, it's some money there. Maybe that money is going to pay the players. You know, maybe it's going to, you know, just going in Michigan's back pocket. I don't know, but If you're looking for an additional revenue stream, maybe it's going to be this Wolverine. That's it. Cut from a different cloth is wanting to know when that. Yeah, it was. I don't know if I had to get 1920 or something like that. Maybe 1900. So I think Yost might have been the coach. I've seen pictures of the live Wolverine. They had two. Biff and Benny. Is that Biff and Rayshon Benny, or that's the actual names? I don't know. We're talking about there, but maybe. Now, I have seen the speculation that there was a country concert that debuted again. I mean, there's been a few concerts, I think, over the years. Maybe not. I'm not 100% sure on the concerts. I know there were concerts at Chrysler. So there you go when it comes down to it. But bringing it back with the concerts. And so since it was a country concert, and since this is a Daniel Boone type hat and the initials MW, instead of Michigan Wolverine, which you get, maybe it could be Morgan Wallen, the country star. And if it was Morgan Wallen, now that's a country star that I could get behind. Now Morgan Wallen is best known for I don't know if I could rip off any of the songs. Maybe I could if I thought about it, but it was something about most of them are about drinking shots and throwing chairs off of roofs. Whatever, he's big time. What was my point about him? Oh, he's best known for doing a walkout, like at boxing back in the day when they would, have their entourage. An entourage will walk out with them. I think Tom Brady's walked out with them in Vegas. So the question would be, if this was Morgan Wallen, I don't know, who would be in his entourage to walk him out? Maybe it would be the superstar quarterback. That'd be the easiest one. Bryce Underwood. Does Bryce Underwood want to walk out with Morgan Wallen? Do I know immediately who the country stars or the country fans are? Maybe it's Dusty May. Maybe he's a country fan. I don't know. I don't have a great speculation. Rip says, how about me? Now, hey, look, if it came down to that's not going to happen, but what about can we get Ward Manuel to walk out with Morgan Wallen? You got WM, Ward Manuel, and MW coming out there. I'm not sure. I mean, you can have, and there's no limit to an entourage, so you can get 3-4 people or whatever there is going on. But something little tease there from Michigan. Now, it's not a tease about Saturday night. Michigan has the game that they got to get back and they had to focus in. And sure, that's the thing that Sharon Moore was emphasizing as soon as 24 hours passed with Michigan State. Forget all of that and start focusing in on Purdue, a game where could the team be looking past Purdue to the bye week and whatever they might be planning for the bye week? That would be unfortunate. So if they would be doing that, thinking that we're all set, let's just we're going to win this one for sure. Let's start making our plans for the bye week. That would be trouble. But so far, the story of the game, Michigan is expected to win this game handily. But the story of the game is that Michigan has a lot of injuries. And could they survive Purdue with these injuries? I think we're all going to say, yeah. But can you get guys back? Can they survive then going to Chicago and playing Northwestern at Wrigley Field? probably, can they then go to Maryland and win that one? And, you want to get the players back at least and maybe get their feet under them for Ohio State. That's what it is, so, but the players that were pretty sure, if not sure, that are not going to play now against Purdue are the following. And you start with Justice Haynes, who had a boot on his foot and has an ankle injury. The severity, he's not going to play against Purdue. I would be surprised if he played against Northwestern. I would hope that he would be able to get back for Maryland. And then if he's going to come back this year, first you'd want to see him for Ohio State. The explosive nature of his running style would be something that would make you feel pretty good. It would make you feel pretty good if, of course, Michigan wins these games, but if they could get Haynes back anytime before the Ohio State game so he could get going a little bit, it wouldn't be, you think, okay, win all these games, and then you get to the Ohio State week, or Sharon Moore each week is probably going to say, we'll see, he's working hard to get back and everything else. And everybody's going to be like, okay. And then, you're half expecting him then not to see him against Ohio State. So it'll affect the, I don't know, perception or the feeling that people have about Michigan's chances against Ohio State, even if they win these next 3 games. If they don't have Haynes, if we don't see him on the field beforehand, it'll be then a question mark. Of course, if we see him, let's say he comes back against Maryland and rips off a 50 or 60 or 70 or 75-yard run like we've seen all year long, and you're thinking, all right, now you're in business. So no Haynes this weekend, but then we'll see. After that, we're on to Cole Sullivan, who got hurt and had a sling on his arm. And then Monday, Sharon Moore said they'll get more information this week. I took that as good news because I was expecting him to come out and say, Cole has this and, he's done for the year, basically. And if you're done for the year, coaches, Michigan usually coaches then will say they're done for the year, but they didn't. Now, that doesn't mean he's not done for the year, but it also just cracks the door open where the potential that he could come back at some point. Not going to play this Saturday. Probably not going to be playing against Northwestern. Who knows? I'm not going to go with each guy and say who knows, but no Cole Sullivan. Jimmy Rolder was a bit of a surprise. Bowles, the linebacker, Troy Bowles, was talking to the media this week, and he was like, yeah, well, with Cole down and with Jimmy down, everybody's like, with Jimmy down. So Jimmy Rolder, the star of the Michigan State game, he's dealing with something. He's not going to play coming up on Saturday. So your 2 starting linebackers, Rolder and Sullivan, not going to be in action on Saturday night. Well, Bowles is good, and we've seen him. And so now you have to go to the question that you answer yourself, or you ask yourself, is Jayshon Barham, who was an inside linebacker last year but was moved to edge, does he move back? Or do they go with NOB, Owosu Boateng, Chase Taylor, 2 top-notch true freshmen? They've played on special teams. I don't know. I'd have to look. I'm trying to remember if either of those guys got in at all, even in some mop-up time to get some snaps. I don't remember either of them. I would say probably maybe in one of those games, like against Central or something, that they could have got in there. But so, that's the question that you have to answer. I think everybody really likes, you hear so many good things about Taylor and NOB, but having them up and having them, play an entire game on the inside, that's a little bit different, saying, hey, that you like their future and everything else. But that's why you have depth, that's why you have the youngsters. So that's something to see there. Other than that, you're going on to the other injured players after Haynes, after Sullivan, after Rolder, and I would say Rod Moore. Rod Moore is coming back from the knee injury that he hurt initially and kept him out, all of last year, and then had trouble and then got back onto the field. And then, he's dealing with that same knee. So I doubt that he's playing. So he's practiced a little bit, but I would say there's no reason to play. I say no reason. I wouldn't think that he would play on Saturday. And then I would think that everything would for Rod Moore. Can he test it out against Maryland? Can you see him against Ohio State? Yeah. Meanwhile, Hogan Hansen, just listening to Sharon Moore on Monday, he sounded optimistic that Hansen could play this week. Do they get him going? Do they get him up on the horse and get him ready? Do they give him one more week? Talking about Hansen, Michigan's deep at tight end. Your speculation is going to be as good as mine on that one. I'll say, how about you wait another week and you see him at Northwestern, and then you go from there, because it's not a situation where they're pressed and they really need him. So if another week helps him and you get him to whatever it is, close to 100%, then there you go. So that's it. Now, is there anyone else, as we're thinking through, that you're wondering about that could also be on that infirmary list? You can go ahead and hit the feedback. Let's go ahead and read some of the feedback. Michigan Go Blue 1234. Like to see him on here. He says 12 million will keep any player, even with games below 100 passing yards. So that we're talking about Bryce Underwood there. Yeah, well, money's going to be part of it, because he got millions, so that's always going to be attached to him. So there you go. I don't know what else to say about Bryce Underwood, except Bryce Underwood, he didn't throw the ball really well against Michigan State. He didn't look good at USC, and he didn't look good at Oklahoma. Now, those are the toughest games that they played, and they lost. Well, maybe not Michigan State, but a rivalry game, certainly Oklahoma and USC, and they lost. So the question is, are you down at all? Or maybe that's not a good way to say it. Where are you at with Bryce Underwood's development as the season has gone on? And when I take a step back, I would say a lot of this is typical of an 18-year-old true freshman playing, and especially at quarterback, where there are going to be some ups and downs. Now, you throw that out of the window and you put Underwood in here, who is expected to be the greatest of all time. And when you watch it in real time, you're like, I don't know if this is the greatest of all time. He was talking about himself being the greatest of all time. He didn't call himself the greatest of all time, but he did say, you've never seen anyone like me before. And, that was a little overzealous, because, actually we have seen a lot of quarterbacks like him. He just played a lot like a true freshman quarterback, especially in those losses. So, in fact, yeah, we have seen it. But it doesn't mean, it was good or it is good that he's very confident. But I feel pretty good about Underwood, and I wouldn't put it past, he's got 3 games before Ohio State. So you get Purdue, then you get a road game against Northwestern, you get that game against Maryland. These 3 games, it wouldn't surprise me if Michigan would win these games. I expect them to do that. And then here's the part that's not going to surprise me, that if he plays well against Ohio State, look, they're going to need him to play well The passing game, which hasn't been there against the big-time opponents, they're going to need that, you would think. I know they didn't need it last year, but you would think. But by then, could Underwood take a gigantic step, or the passing game take a gigantic step? Could the pass catchers take a big step? I think that's the biggest thing. And you want to say the health, fine, that's up there. Health is always going to be a big factor. But I would say the passing game and Underwood overall continuing to develop up to November the 29th are the two biggest things as I look at the team, as I sit here. That's where I'm at when it comes down to it. So here we are. Right back to 1, 2, 3, 4. He says he thinks they should get Underwood going in some of these next couple games just to make sure he doesn't transfer. Yeah, well, I'm not going to sit around worried about him transferring, about if they can't get him passing the ball. A lot of these passes, it's been as much on him as any play calling, and I'm not going to call passes to placate the Underwood. That's the kind of drama that people like to talk about, I'm sure. But if I'm on the coaching staff, I'm trying to get to the Ohio State game undefeated. Look, if you get into the fourth quarter against Purdue, are you feeling like that you want to get the passing game going, because that's going to give you the best chance to beat Ohio State. So I think without thinking about, we're going to throw the ball a little bit more, or we're going to call some more passes because we don't want him transferring. That's not really, I think, but they do want to get him passing and feeling good because they think that's going to give them the best chance of making the college football playoff. So, I guess it doesn't matter. Both, you want to get the passing game going. Ripstar's talking about getting the tight ends more involved. Maybe, the tight ends, the third string and fourth string guys were the stars of the game, along with the linebackers that are now hurt against Washington. And then, they were good in the run game, but not so good in the pass catching game. Now, each and every game, I don't know if that's where they have been involved. What you want to see is them continuing to be involved in the passing game. And, that's fine. I think that's something that is understandable. Rico is talking about that Michigan should have been able to pass against MSU and Wisconsin. I'm not expecting this to improve much. Well, I get it. Yeah, but if it doesn't improve much, then this team isn't going to go to the college football playoff. Again, I think that's the biggest thing. But, you could easily forward last year's game and say nobody expected Michigan to beat Ohio State. This year it's going to be at home. Everybody focusing on the passing game. What about the running game that's been the biggest factor in Michigan beating Ohio State these last 4 years? 21, 22, 24. It's crazy. So I get that. Greg says Western is debuting its own brand of beer as the 03 Gold. Michigan just has Founders. Michigan's got a lot of ties with beer. In that, I'm going to have to go off the top. I see Mike Martin. I don't know what beer he's promoting, but I saw him standing in front of a billboard with beer. And it was like talking, buy it for the Champion Circle. I think the Champion Circle has its own Michigan beer. When you say Michigan just has Founders, Maybe Michigan has a tie-in with Founders with their beer. I don't know that specifically, but I think they've got something working with the beer part. Greg says, thinking that Northwestern could be the toughest matchup of the three. Maybe. Jim Scarcelli thinks that Northwestern's pretty good. Rico thinks Maryland. Rip likes my Halloween costume. I look so scary. One year, Rip, I just went with a pretty straightforward T-shirt, and I put some white clouds on my eyebrows, and I did go as Mr. Clean. It was easy. It worked pretty well. That's an easy one. I agree that Michigan is not good enough to overlook anybody. Brian said hamstring with Jimmy. Salute RGS wants to see some more Jasper Parker if we blow out Purdue. Well, I would think that you're going to see Jasper Parker anyways. Jordan Marshall, you want to give him 30 carries? 20 carries. But I think you're going to see some Jasper Parker. And then as you say, if they're really opening up a can, maybe you get to see that much more. That's it. I don't know. Got Rico talking about Jimmy Roller's recruitment. Rico talking about Underwood, saying he didn't expect Bryce to be incredible in his first year, but so many of our fans legitimately thought he was going to be elite this year. Some must be feeling a little silly now. Well, I'll tell you how the fans that thought he was going to be elite feel. They feel like the coaching staff is holding him back. If it's not the coaching staff that's holding him back, it's his collection of wide pass catchers that he's throwing to that's holding him back. They don't, if you thought he was elite, they still think he's elite. And there might be some truth to both of those things. I certainly think the pass catcher one, it's Marsh has come on. We've seen that. The tight ends, here or there, they've stepped in there. But McCulley, I'd have to say, I hate saying he's been a disappointment, but he has not been that star wide receiver one. That's Marsh now. And after those two, I don't know who you wouldn't mention anyone. You mentioned a lot of drops. So I think there's a point to the pass catchers. The coaches, there might be a point there too. I don't know. That's but that's what you're going to think if you're a fan. And look, if you're a fan, a lot of fans, they're not all fans, but a great deal of Michigan fans love recruiting. And there was never a bigger recruit in the game of recruiting for Michigan than Bryce Underwood. Michigan had no quarterback last year. Next thing you know, they had the greatest quarterback prep ever. And that's a huge swing to go from nothing, sorry guys, to everything. And along with that, the expectations and starting right away. So I understand how fans legitimately thought he was going to be elite. I have to say all summer long, I kept saying, well, it's he's the greatest of all time, but you still have to go through it and everything else. And then I watched him play against New Mexico and Central Michigan, and I thought, oh, he's, this guy is. He's above all this other stuff. I said it after New Mexico, just how wowed I was by his arm. And then I watched him not play well against Oklahoma, but then against Central, and I was right back in there. He's a little watching him throw the ball. I think you get a little intoxicated. He's going to be the greatest. It doesn't matter about anything else. It's going to happen. DVR says Devin Gardner says his development is on schedule. Well, Devin Gardner's a good person to get a read on Underwood. Good point by BB that he isn't a turnover machine. Keegan, are basketball snacks different than football snacks? We're talking snacks. Well, I'll talk some snacks. Yeah, it's different. Football, you tailgate. So you're thinking grill. And for basketball, I tried tailgating for a basketball game a long time ago. What it entailed is me just sitting in the back seat, drinking a few beers. I don't even know if I had any food. Not much of a tailgate. What it was is, slamming a few beers in the back of the car. Kind of a tailgate, but not really. You're not tailgating in February. Well, in football, when it gets a little bit cold and you deal with it and everything else. But, football's more popped maize and maybe a dog, whatever else they have at the concession. Football is much more complex. And football's, is an all-day affair. That's if you're going to the games. But even if you're just watching them at home, football is a lot longer. In basketball, there's so many. You can't have a full 6-course or even, 6 snacks that you would have for football, how many ever you would have for basketball. So it's just way different. I don't know if that answers the question or what you're even coming at. Rico says this team doesn't belong in a playoff anyway. Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that. If they win their next 4 games, I think absolutely they belong in a playoff. And I think what you're doing is holding the standard to a playoff of Michigan being a top 4 team. You don't have to be a top 4 team anymore. You have to be a top 12 team. And when you look at some of the teams that they put in there and some of these games that you're thinking, hell yes, they belong. If they win their games and get in, absolutely. And yeah, next year looks a lot better, but that's you're just going on what you have seen so far. You will change your tune if they win the next 4 games. DVR says being elite doesn't mean you don't have to learn the college game. Yeah, that's right. When it comes to measuring a quarterback, Underwood he is what we would all, if we were in the, with Dr. Frankenstein, and if we were building the perfect quarterback, let's get a 6'4" quarterback that's really athletic and that can throw the ball all over the place. It is Underwood. Underwood is the perfect prospect for what he has athletically, his arm, all of that. He has all of the measurables. He has all of the tools. Like DVR saying, you still have to travel to Oklahoma. And until you experience it, and it's the same thing with the other road games that he's been through. And the whole thing, whether or not he's feeling pressure and going through all of that, I mean, I think that Michigan fans were hoping he was going to be a 1 in a million, or at least a 1 in a generation as a freshman. Now, he still might be a generational quarterback. Most of these guys sit for their first year. We're just seeing his learning curve play out on the field because they didn't have anything else to go with. Rico says he's not the best case scenario. with his combination of the offensive line, pass catchers, and OC. Yeah, well, that's true. That's where you look to Trevor Lawrence in 2018, where he had not only he had T. Higgins and Renfrew, and he had ETN, who had one of the great years ever, and an offensive line that ended up being fabulous for him. He also had the number one defense in the country. So yeah. Rip really liked the great snack question. Hadley says, you really think if Michigan wins out but loses the championship game to finish 10? Yes, if Michigan wins the next 4 games, I think that they are going to guarantee to be in the playoffs. Aaron says, we are witnessing greatness, and some of you are mad it isn't perfection. We are witnessing a very talented quarterback that could be great, but people were expecting greatness and perfection. I would just add a few things into there. There was nothing great about Underwood against Michigan State, and that's okay. The run he had was great, but his throwing was less than. It was the same thing against USC. He had one great drive, but the rest of it was he was throwing the ball like Alex Orji. And against Oklahoma, he was part of the problem. So there was nothing great about that. But you're witnessing a top-notch talent that flashes greatness. But yeah, I agree. People expect perfection. But even you don't make excuses. Just look at it and call it what it is. And nobody's mad. Yes, I answered that. They're in. Get them in there. I'm not reading that one. So that's it. That's it. Remind yourself that you wait all summer long for Michigan football, so gear up and enjoy this weekend. A Halloween weekend with Michigan football is awesome. That's where I'm at with it. Congratulations to Aiden Hutchinson, who got his contract. Now, with the injury, it was a lot of Lion fans wondering, well, do you wait? You automatically, just give him all the money. If you wait and he's good, you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more. Whatever it was, he's back. He looks like the Aiden Hutchinson from his rookie year, and he ends up getting – he's not the highest paid non-quarterback ever, but he is the highest paid non-quarterback with guaranteed money. Not too shabby. What is it? $180 million with 141. Is that what I got? Guaranteed? Whatever. Those are the numbers. Great job for Aiden Hutchinson. It just keeps getting better for him. That's it. My walkout. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I even want. I mean, if somehow it opened up where I could walk out there with Morgan Wallen, okay. Would I want to go to the concert if that's in fact what it is? I think the answer is maybe. Maybe. Do I really want to go to a concert if I can't sit here and rip off the names? There's at least 3 or 4 songs that I like of his, though, so that's not bad. Aiden is better than any Bosa boy. The Bosa boys are pretty good. I mean, it's pretty good. Here's a Scooble point that the Tigers might trade him. What a joke. Yeah, well, here's how they're kind of damned almost anything that they do. If they pay him whatever, 400 million, 350 million, that's what I think your general fan is wanting. Sign him, you hear sign it. And stop being cheap. I get all that. Is it realistic for a team in the American League Central who already has a higher payroll that, the Indians never spend anything? Minnesota never spends anything. Chicago could spend, but they don't. And the Royals, they are a small market. Tigers are looking at that like, no thanks. So I doubt that they are going to, pay through the teeth or the nose or whatever it is. And that might disappoint you. So then you have to decide for yourself. If you take that off, this is the way I have done it. I'm pretty sure that they are not going to be the highest bidder and give them 350 or 400 million, regardless of what anybody think or whatever it's at. Just don't think that that's going to be the case. So then you have to ask yourself, should they trade him or should they roll with him this year? If they roll with him this year, they're going to get heavily criticized for losing him for nothing, even though they get a comp pick. I mean, they're just going to get banged on continuously. Nothing. Although what I would suggest to anyone that wanted to hear what I had to say about it is that it's not that you're getting nothing for him. What you are getting in his prime, is he 29 years old? You are getting the best pitcher in baseball for this upcoming season. That's what you're getting. If they didn't have Tarek Skubal, would I trade a big-time prospect to be able to get him, a big-time prospect or two, to be able to get the best pitcher in baseball for 1 year? And if I thought that could be the difference in me winning a World Series, I would say yeah. So while everybody will ding them for not trading him, saying they're going to get nothing for him, they'll get his performance this year in his prime. Now, I don't say don't trade him for just don't do it. I mean, I've looked at some of the prospects lists already. The Mets have a top 10 pitcher in the minors. That's a pretty good starting point. If you get a top 10 guy and they've got another top 30 guy, now you're talking about a top 10 to top 30. Do I need a little sweetening over there? I could see it. I don't say never. I don't ever trade for prospects. No, sometimes you do. Sometimes you trade, like in football, you trade and you get 2 or 3 number ones for someone. You get a Herschel Walker type deal. You get a Micah Parsons type deal. And then sometimes you're the one that's, trading for it. So my prediction is that he will pitch for the Tigers this year, and then he will leave to go to the New York Mets. That's how I think that's going to play out. Martini says we got nothing for Scherzer, Verlander, and JD. That's not true. And they didn't get anything for Scherzer. You're right about that. But they did get. They got a huge package of prospects for Verlander. I didn't really like the return, even though everybody was telling me it's a great. I was like, they should get more. They got Jake Rogers, who's still on the team from the Verlander trade. Now, the guys didn't work out. Prospects, great prospects, hit at like 1 out of 10. Good prospects hit 3 out of 10. So they got Jake Rogers from Verlander. That's pretty typical. And yeah, JD, you're right about that. Cut from a different cloth says they need to teach Underwood how to read defensive coverages and understand offensive protections. That's the reason why he got sacked on that one play, which almost became a turnover. Yeah, that was on him. You definitely have to be able to know that he needs to get rid of that ball. Although, when you are uber talented like Underwood, maybe he did. I don't think that he saw him. It didn't look like he did, but sometimes a guy like Underwood will see the guy and he just thinks, I'll just spin away. I'll just get away from him. I watch a lot of, the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson at times will look like he has no idea what's going on. He'll have two guys like just bearing down on him after he's run back like 5 yards. He'll have two guys coming at him. And you're thinking, you got to get away from, you got to throw it away. That's not what Lamar Jackson does. Lamar Jackson pirouettes, gets skinny, runs through him, runs away, stiff arms him. Underwood's got a little bit of that. But yes, overall, does he need to do a better job? And that's where the experience of these games, of reading these coverages, understanding the protections. What we have heard is that he works as hard in the film room that he does out on the field. So those are things that I would expect that he would get better at. Salute says, we got to remember, he didn't get to sit. He's learning on the fly. That's it. Mr. Martini didn't like that. They got Jake Rogers for Verlander. What's your problem? I get it. Yeah, and I get it with Underwood. We are watching it. I don't know if it would have been the best case scenario to have him sit, but we're watching it play out. And, you want it to be, oh, he played great against New Mexico, and then, oh, he didn't play good against Oklahoma, and then it was great. But then, you just keep going up, 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 up. Every game he's improving, he's getting better. It's all you hear him say. But what happens is you go up a little bit, then you drop, and then you're going to have your ups and downs. It's going to happen. I know that sounds pretty easy, but that is how it ends up going. All right. Thanks so much. If you would like to, I think that this week, what I have seen over on the Maize and Blue Review has been one of the most entertaining weeks. The people that are coming in, the people like you that are watching this, you're like, man, I like talking Michigan. I love Michigan coverage. I like sitting around on my phone or my computer. I just want more and more. I just Michigan. That's what the Maize and Blue Review is, just straight up Michigan. And we're talking about every single thing like we do here all day and all night. But all week long, been talking about the Bryce Underwood, the tight ends, the wide receivers, the coaching, the offensive coordinator, the playoffs and all of that. And then people are very respectful of one another and making all of the key points and, going back and forth. I have found it highly entertaining, and I guarantee you'll like it. And, right around the corner is the holiday season. Give yourself the gift of the Maize and Blue Review. That's what it's all about. Do it. I don't know, rip off the shirt. I'll tell you, once I lose a little more weight, maybe I'll rip off the shirt. Sure doesn't even look that good. I scrunched it up. So we'll see you over on the Maize and Blue Review. Go to on3.com and then punch it up. Punch it up. The Maize and Blue Review, and we'll see you over there. Until Friday. Take care and have a great Wednesday. Rest of your Wednesday. Bye.